Her Ties is the new horror thriller slasher film released in the year 2025. The film begins with a very chilling montage, and we see a mass killer known as Hurt Eyes, and his aim is to just he's stalking couples on Valentine's Day, and the settling transition to Seattle, where we see the killer just brutally slays two couples actually, and one is at the spa and one is at the remote winery. We see just how he just brutally terrorizes the couple, that is the male and the female, and he's just trying to kill them at any cost, and that is his motive actually. And we see later in the part of the film at the winery where detectives Jenny Shaw and Zeke Hobbs find a ring engraved with the initial JS. That is a haunting clue pointing to the past the killer might be tied to. Later in the film, we are introduced to the character of Ellie. Ellie is a female protagonist in this movie, and she is a pitch designer by profession, and she works for a very precious and very high-end luxury jewelry brand. And she is recovering from a recent breakup with her boyfriend Colin. She pitches a very darkly ironic ad campaign about doomed lover actually, but her boss on the other side, Crystal, quickly shuts it down, considering it's just way too insensitive due to the serial killings. And Ellie's boss then brings in Jay Simmons, which so Jay Simmons actually in this movie is, you can call, is a kind of a male protagonist, and he's just charming, cocky marketing consultant with a totally opposite worldview. And they had a very tense interaction earlier at the coffee shop, but now they must collaborate to save the campaign together because that is their job at the end. And Ellie is skeptical firstly about him, then her best friend Monica encourages her to give Jay a little bit chance, and both professionally as well as maybe even personally up to some level she suggests her, and then gradually Ellie just agrees to idea, and now Ellie reluctantly agrees, and then she just think that she might have dinner with Jay, and the two clash over dinner where Ellie is cynical about love and while Jay is just optimistic. Tension escalates between both of them, but as Jay storms out, Ellie sees Colin with his new girlfriend, that is Sienna, and in the moment of very petty revenge, she just kisses Jay passionately in front of them. So Jay is caught off guard actually. It plays along very nicely actually. Someone is kissing him, I mean. And from across the street, we see a figure in the mask watches them silently. That is the Hurt Eyes. Now Ellie and Jay must take a cab back to her place, and but she realizes that she forgets her keys, and now Jay helps her break in, cutting his hand, and Ellie tends to his wound. The lights just flicker and the killer just strikes again. Hurt Eyes just brutally murders their cab driver and attacks Jay. Jay is his primary suspect, and Jay is knocked unconscious by the brutal and the devil, that is the serial killer Hurt Eyes. And we see Ellie just narrowly escapes through this all kind of thing that is just going around her, running barefoot into the night, and she's just frightened, and she's just feeling kind of very fearful at the time, and she don't know how to react and what to do in this such kind of tense situation. And the police arrive and find Jay with a bloody hand, and shockingly the killer's mask is also present there. We see now they are dragged into this police station into the custody, where we see there is the introduction of character of the detective Shaw and Hobbs, which they interrogate Jay, and they collect his initial J.S that I have mentioned earlier at the start of the video to the ring found at the winery, and then they reveal that he has been just present in multiple cities where similar murder occurs. So the primary suspect actually of those detectives just go on Jay because possibly he was present at that site of the murder. So that's why they are thinking of the other way, that he might be involved in all these things. So things just look very grim, and the suspicion just goes wider and wider for him, and the things get difficult for Jay right now. Meanwhile, Ali waits in the lobby with the desk officer Fran and quirky IT guy David. We see David flirts, but Ali just brushes him off, and the atmosphere just grows kind of tense, and suddenly the lights go out, and we see now that is in a very terrifying sequence. Now Hurt Eye just infiltrates the police station. He kills Fran brutally and moves towards Ellie. He just kind of having devastation at the police station right now after killing lights off. And as she does, Detective Shaw just confronts the killer and a fight ensues. where we see Hobbs is killed and the killer escapes. Amid the chaos, we see that Ellie just helps a disoriented Jay, and now Jay escapes custody. They flee into the night together, now both being fugitive. Ellie and Jay just hide at a very old drive-in theater, and for a moment they feel just safe apart from all these things that have just happened with them uh, in the past days. And they open up. Jay tells her about a troubled past involving his estranged brother, and Ellie just talks about losing her faith in love because of a recent breakup. And then their bond just kind of get deepens. But things are just but just as things goes calm, we see the Hultai just attacks them again, strikes them again, and this time slaughtering moviegoers in a very shocking scene filled with carnage. Ali and Jay then fight back and simply kind of kill him. When they unmask the body, it's a man neither of them recognize. Detective Shaw arrives alive, and though injured and offers Jay a ride, he accepts his hesitant but complains. We see back home Ali can't shake the feeling that something is wrong, and she just starts to connect dot what is happened or what is happening around her, so she can get something because she notices something off about these happenings right now. And Shaw's presence at all the crime scenes, her eerie calm after the massacre, and Jay's strange silence. She receives a very chilling call that her ties is alive and has Jay hold as a kind of hostage, and because kind of kidnapping Jay, she is told to come alone to a nearby chapel or else they will kill Jay. Then we come to the ending scene of this movie. Now Ellie arrives at a very gothic style chapel where her ties has taken Jay as a hostage. What seems like a final showdown with a single killer just evolves into something far more disturbing and far more vivid than anyone could imagine. Actually, even I or we as an audience could not have imagined this twist. Actually, David, which is the nerdy, awkward, and the IT guy, just reveals himself as to be the killer. That is the her ties. But the real twist that he wasn't working alone actually in all of these things. Detective Shaw, the officer who was just assigned to catch the killer, steps out of the shadows, revealing herself as his partner both romantically and homicidally. So we see these are this pair of both of them just doing this kind of killings randomly. Shaw and David just justify their killing with a very warped ideology that modern love is just fake, it's shallow, it's not deep, it's a narrow thing and transactional. They consider their own bond, which is a toxic and obsessive love, as a pure bond between both of them. And the twisted logic paints Ellie and Jay as the ultimate example of the superficial attraction, because that is just a superficial attraction. The thing goes beyond this because they are just matching on a physical level, not on a kind of a mental level or soul level, which both partners needs to be agreed to really feel that they are in kind of love. Shaw says that they were always going to be the final couple, a climax in her love-fueled bloodbath. And now Ellie is presented with a very impossible decision that kill Jay and be freed or die alongside him. So she gets the both choice and she need to consider one of them. And so we see that it's a moment where Ellie is just forced to confront that how far she has come emotionally, and from very jaded and ex-girlfriend to someone deeply bonded with Jay. She refuses to play their game and stabbing Shaw in the gut with a very ceremonial dagger. As we see the Ellie fight Shaw, Jay struggles against David, and the fight becomes just chaotic and symbolic, and kind of we see uh, just a fight between both of them and hand combat and all those things in that. We say the Jay representing sincere love, David representing corrupted obsession. Jay shoves David into the wall of candles, setting him ablaze in a blaze of blood and fire. We see in the final blow that Shaw is just wounded but just alive and just charges at Ally, and in last act of defiance, Ally just uses a broken piece of stained glass and to decapitate her. It's both brutal and poetic, and it's kind of horrific if you see at the first sight, and destroying the face of the woman who just hide behind law and order while committing this kind of chaos and crimes. Now Ali is just back in the medical school. We see this after actually one. There is written on the screen that it's 1 year later. That it means that these things are all happening after the 1 year the incident has happened. That is the confrontation between the serial killer and Ellie in the chapel, and this signifies the reclaiming control of her life and identity, and just moving beyond the trauma that has just happened with her, and Jay is still by her side, no longer a charming flirt, but a partner who's seen at her most vulnerable. Ali just proposes to him at a very drive-in movie theater, flipping traditional gender expectation and showing how far she has come emotionally. And in the post-credit scene, I think where we see a eerie post-credit scene where Ali receives a prank call from Monica pretending to be Hurt Eyes, and they just casually laugh it off, just kind of having jokes around. But then the camera pans to a rooftop where a faint heart-shaped light flickers, and interpretation I think we can take from this is, if we consider the literal meaning, I think that one of the killers may have survived, and there could be a cult or the copycat killers, or there may be hiding of such people who just randomly do such kind of weird killings and just open the door for a kind of sequel like the Hurt Eyes Return or Hurt Eyes 2, something like that. And if we just try to get the things around in another way, that is metaphorically, that trauma leaves a very lingering imprint on the mind itself. It's very difficult to actually overcome that, and even if the killers are dead, the fear, the paranoia, the overall tense atmosphere just stay with Ally for very very long time. It is gonna stay with her and making her laugh nervously, second guess shadows, and never just fully return to innocence. If you talk about the symbolism and themes in the ending, especially the broken glass as a weapon, because Ali just uses the shattering dented glass to kill Shaw and symbolizes how love, when shattered, can still protect if reclaimed. And we see that David burning uh, represent the self-destruction of obsession masked as love, and the proposal at the drive-in was actually just kind of unsettling at first time because I was not expecting it. Is kind of unexpected things to happen and call back to their earlier hideout, now reclaimed as a place of connection, not fear, actually. So this is all about the movie. So if you ask me, I think I personally like the slasher genre a lot. With and when a slasher genre is just coupled with thrill and kind of horror element, the uh, kind of all the mixture we get is just brilliant, and it just hooks you on your seat. The adrenaline just goes pumping, and you are engaged in the storyline with the characters. Especially if you see in this movie, you are attached to the character of Ali and Jay, the male and the female protagonists in this movie. You feel their struggle and you kind of connect with them. And even in the movie, they are shown at the first time. They are just kind of we see the workplace colleague, and then slowly, uh, we see the female protagonist Ali just falls in love with him, and later we see that she also proposes him in the nearly in the post credit scene, before the post credit scene at the end of the movie. So that was just, I think, kind of not so typical, and expectation was unexpected things. That is proposal one. The overall movie was just good. I think it is definitely a watchable movie. Uh, Not only once but twice or thrice, because many of the detail you get after watching twice or thrice the movie is just mind blowing, because it connects the dot of the story and overall the feel of the movie. And it's, I think, a very good and bold blend of horror, romance and satire. And while I think the killer twist just stretches the believability, but the filmmaking and the bold tone and style is violent, just keep it entertaining. It's not just about the love, it's about the survival, identity and reclaiming power. One of the best things I like about the movie was the kind of killing we see in this movie, and especially at the start of the movie when there was squashing of the woman's, that her whole head kind of just pressed between the two things moving straight in the direction. And then we see later the hunter just uses a kind of weapon that he just stabs him into the head, and we see this killing when they both were just hiding in that caravan, that van type of car. And there were four people actually in that place, and our Jay and Ella just were sitting at the front seat, and the other couple were having their intimate things backward. And when he opened the door, he just slashed, brutally killed them. Actually, that scene was just I think terrifying, and that just reminded me of another gore slasher thriller film like Terrifier or the Terrifier franchise. So actually, it was very good, and I like the movie. So if you like such kind of breakdowns, do like, share, and subscribe our channel Cinema Shadows for more. And you will get this kind of recommendation from our channel nearly every week. So just stay subscribed and also press that bell icon for more. Thank you and have a nice day. Thank you for watching.